Welcome to the Sedona Soul Sisters Show, where we discuss things spiritual, metaphysical, and paranormal and healing. The Sedona Soul Sisters are myself, Ivory,
Roz Reynolds, that's me.
And I'm Terri Ann.
and today's topic is actually Terri Ann's book, From Death to Life, and it is a true story about her son. Terri Ann's beloved son, Anthony, passed away very unexpectedly almost a year ago. And since then, it's been a phenomenal, fascinating story that Roz and I have been following avidly, and very happy for Terri Ann about this. But Terri Ann, you tell your story. I don't want to tell your story.
It's been an amazing journey, and I feel like you two, I wrote about it in the book. There was a piece that was put into place at the perfect time because it was probably just about uh, about a year, I think, when I met Roz, and I had come in to meet her, and when I was meditating and I was directed to you guys. And so that piece was really put into place for me to have that support when Anthony would leave the earth. So I appreciate both of you. I'm so grateful for both of you.
Well, we love you and we're glad to be here for you. It's such a difficult time to just be your friend.
Yeah, it's been really the whole journey. Like when I wrote the book, it was very cathartic for me. So, starting in the beginning, there was no hope. I could not see that end point where I was able to get to the light. And he kept yelling at me, get in the light, get in the light. But at that time, I just could not do it. My human and my spiritual couldn't have that perfect meld together. I knew he was okay, but being a human mother and not having your child anymore, it was just too much to bear.
Wasn't that the time that you started having dark attacks too, when you weren't in the light?
Yes, that's when the dark attacks got
Hi,
heavy.
girls. Hi,
Hi,
guys.
Mom.
Hi, I just came in from working in the yard. I'm sweating like a pig.
We're recording.
Enjoy.
Terri Ann's talking about her book.
So yes, at that time, because my vibration was so low, my frequency, I had a lot of lower level dark attacks on myself, my family. I was attacked in my dreams, in my waking state. All I would do at that time was pray to be able to sleep. And then when I would sleep, I would have these psychic dark attacks on me. So it was horrible. So at that time, what I want people to understand is I was not eating, I wasn't sleeping, I was barely functioning. So my frequency, I put the, let me see if I have it, the chart for the map of consciousness, my David Hawkins. I know it's in the book, but anyway, it talks about the frequency and how grief is such a lower level frequency, and joy, love, peace, enlightenment is all up here. And so when you have those lower level frequencies, it's easier for the dark to get in, alternate personalities to come in. A lot of times people will say, we've had clients that have dark attachments. They'll say like, oh, I had this thought about wanting to kill myself, and that's not me. Like, who is that, And, I would not think that. And so I did have a lot of those thoughts at that time.
I remember you saying, and I told them, stop it. I'm not going to kill myself. That's not something I want to do. So even then you were stepping into your spiritual warrior side.
I had to fight really hard. I knew that suicide was not the way. I knew that would not, there was no guarantee that I would be with him. I knew that he was okay at that point, but still the physical pain, I think I explain a lot about the physical pain, how I was surprised at the amount of physical pain that was in my body at that time.
So remind us how soon it was after Anthony passed that he came through to you the first time?
It was a few hours. And he's here and he's laughing. He's like, see, that's me. I was surprised. I remember asking you at the time too, because I was like, Well, I've not experienced this in my practice. I've never seen a spirit come through that had just crossed over.
They do to me, like people I know tend to come through to me at the time they pass or within very short. But what amazes me about that story is the depths of your grief and pain, but he was able to penetrate through that to very clearly connect with you. That's how strong his spirit is and how much he knew you needed that connection right then.
Yes, he was very adamant at that time that that I learned that it was a contract. It wasn't malpractice or accidental by any means. It was his time to go. He actually, I discussed this with somebody yesterday. He actually passed on a full moon lunar eclipse, which we're going to have coming up again. So that window was very small for him to be able to go when his contract was up. And he stepped through that door and he's been, he hit the floor. I say he hit the floor and he's been running ever since.
It's so much easier on the other side. That's what Spirit talks about.
Oh my gosh.
He's so much more effective, and they always talk about how I can help my family, I can help my loved ones so much more on this side than I could in that side. So I'm not exactly sure what they mean about that, but I hear that a lot. So I want to acknowledge that we have Anthony, who is Terri Ann's son. We have his grandmother, Barbara, is here. She comes to our shows, and I know this is difficult for you, Barbara. Thank you for being here. We love having you here with us. You've become a soul sister with us, my friend. I just want to acknowledge that his grandmother is here. So now, like, what do you think the purpose is? Like, what is your joint goal with Anthony?
I think it's huge, and he hasn't told me like the whole picture, the whole big picture. He gives me, like, I say it in the book too, it's like food to digest. He gives me like little bits and pieces that I can handle at a time and then move forward. I did not want to write this book. Let me just tell you that right now.
Especially not at that time.
No, I was so deep in grief, and he kept yelling at me, Mom, get up and write this book. And I was like, I can't, And so as I started it, I did find it to be very cathartic for me. It was very healing for me to connect with him and for him to explain the process to me and how this was this contract that we had signed up together for before we became Terri Ann and Anthony, and how big this extends to. It's not just about me and him. It's about all of humanity. It's about the oneness, the connectedness between all of us. Anthony and I have this tremendously special relationship, as I'm finding out. We are, he taught me that we are twin flames. So, I don't know much about twin flames, but I'm learning that aspect of it. But he talks a lot about the oneness and how, everything that every one of us do is for the greater good of humanity and how to connect with that oneness within us. So he's teaching me so much.
It makes it so important. First, I want to say I have huge admiration for you to be able to write such a beautiful book, the most difficult year of your life. And I know you've had difficult times before, but I know this was the worst. And to be able to write that book as beautifully as you did, I understand he wouldn't let up about it, but still that you did it. And it is really good, and you really got your emotions through. I know how I felt when I read it, and it was hard to stop reading, and I got emotional. And I'm reading some of the reviews on Amazon, and it's touching people the same way who don't even know you.
Yes.
It's really coming through. So the other thing is, very clearly it's helping you heal. I mean, he knew that too. Writing that book would help you heal. It would pull you out of that dark pit, Terri Ann.
It gave me another purpose to focus on. I knew that he wanted me to do it, and I tell everybody that I will do anything that he guides me to do. I thought he was crazy. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about, how to write a book. I don't even know where to start. Like, he's just like, just go and start writing. And I share this story as well as, we don't always need to know the end point. I didn't know how it would be published. I didn't know how it would be get out there, but he directed me to my publisher. I don't even remember how I came across her name. It just like popped up somewhere when I was looking at something. And then she sent me to the editor, Jason, who also happens to be a Gemini, who is not a medium, but he was able to connect with Anthony as well when writing the book. So it shows people too that even though you may not be able to connect or think you may not be able to connect, that you are able to connect. And so that's one of his messages as well. Eventually, I don't think we'll need mediums. I think as we ascend, we're going to, as a humanity, have these gifts open more within us, and so we'll be able to connect, yourself.
I always say our roles as mediums are going to be changing. I'm totally fine with that. I've seen a shift even in the last couple of years. There's been a shift in the kind of messages coming through from spirit. But one thing I wanted to point out about something you said earlier, like that what this work you're doing with Anthony is so much bigger than the two of you or the people who know you, that it affects the world. You know, what's going on with all the unrest now in our country and around the world, it's not just about the issues that people think it's about. It's about people's hearts needing to be cleared, your chakras needing to be cleared so that you can raise your frequency, so that you see things from an entirely different perspective. And I feel like your book is a big part of that, of helping people see death very differently, helping people understand you never really lose someone, and helping us just shift our minds in that way. And then we could be more receptive to messages from those who are in the afterlife, who have answers we need, who can help us through this difficult time that's going to lead to such beauty and a whole different kind of world. But nobody said it would be easy, and you two are warriors in the process, fighting to help people move upward, see the light, feel the light.
And have no fear around it. A lot of people have a lot of fear around hearing from spirit, or they're scared, or they think that it's evil. And it's this is my son, so it was very different than having a typical, mediumship session. But his message for the book is, have no fear, that your loved one is with you. They're with you from the second that they leave. They're still there. He enjoys, celebrations as much as he enjoys coming in and helping us through the difficult times.
Absolutely. They just keep those bonds with us, and they're still part of the family. They're still a part of our lives. I know I've got friends who passed, who come to see me regularly, who just hang out. And it gives me a lot of comfort because I miss them.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like, has he given you any hints about, because I know there's going to be at least 2 more books with you and Anthony writing these together. Has he given you any hint about where that's going?
Yes, well, the next book, which I'm just starting, it's been a slower process, just because of all the craziness that's going around. I'm not as focused, but the next book will be, he dropped the bombshell with this. I was with him one day, and he brought in this world-renowned physicist, Dr. Brenner, who passed in April of 2019, who I didn't know this until I looked up Dr. Brenner on the internet. And I was like,
going, oh my God, he exists.
I was like, this is crazy. Like, I don't even know anything about physics. Like, I'm not scientific by any means. So for me, I was like, oh my God, even for me, I'm like, I know this, I do this work, but I'm like, this is crazy. So I was like blown away. And so that book will have a lot about the DNA, and Dr. Brenner worked a lot with DNA. And so how we're able to manipulate our DNA and heal ourselves. And we all have this ability within us that has been turned off. We've been indoctrinated to believe that we're not powerful, and we are so far from not powerful. So that book,
we're not flotsam floating on rough waters, are we?
no, we're not just dependent on everybody else to save us. So that book will have a lot of that. It'll have a lot of what he's doing now. The work that he's doing now, and I was told yesterday again, he told me this in the beginning, but I was told yesterday again that he is still helping children to cross. So that's something near and dear to his heart. He loved children. He didn't have any children of his own, but he loved children. And as a mother who lost a child now, I am just I feel so grateful that he's there with other young men who have passed as well, that are helping these children to cross, because I feel like if you're a child, that it may be a little bit scary to, you know, cross over, and if you have not done it many times before, you know, maybe you may be a newer soul. So
I
I
can
think that that's
totally,
beautiful.
I can see Anthony just being there. He just seems like he's got this soft energy, and just take him by the hand and, hey, let me take you in. You're in a good place, you know? It's gonna
Yeah,
be fine. He seems like a teddy bear kind of guy.
with a wise mouth. I don't know where he gets that.
That's a really cool task for him to take on the other side. I love that.
I think that really helped him to feel fulfilled, like he was doing his part. When he first crossed, he talked about a lot about having that connection to us still, and you know, seeing the pain that we were going through, and trying to help everybody, because everybody grieves so differently. I talk about that in the book too, how everybody's path of grief is so vastly different, and not one person will grieve like another. So he was able to like come in and help with that. And, you know, I have older children and younger children. I allowed them to grieve in their own way, and just, you know, supported them through the process. So I think it's important for people to know that there is no set grief pattern. You know, there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's no time for it to be over. I don't think, you know, people say, well, you have to get over it, you have to move on, you know, you have other children. I don't think any of that's true.
No.
Mm-mm.
And
You
that
know,
whole thing of the stages of grief, yes, there's stages of grief, but what I've seen is people can skip a stage, they can go back several stages. It jumps around, and there's definitely no set pattern to it. And I love that you talk about that, because I think it's so hurtful when someone loses a loved one and people are telling them, you should be over this by now. Are you still grieving that hard? It's like, no, that's judgmental. You know,
yes,
that's trying to decide how somebody else should be grieving.
right.
So, what's some other important messages that Anthony had in this book?
I think it's important for people to know that there really is no death. You know, he shed his physical being, and that is still an adjustment for us while he's not here in the physical, especially the first year. I've talked to a lot of people who explain the first year is the most difficult year. You know, year 2 might be a little better, but then year 3, you may dip back into that. So everybody's so different. One of the messages he likes to keep reiterating is he's not dead. He's still here, you know. So if your loved one has passed, and you haven't connected with them, or you don't know how to connect with them, you can connect with them. Look for a medium, or look for books, or look at videos on how to connect with spirit, because it'll give you great ease and solace knowing that your loved one is still there, sitting right by you. And, you know, almost every client that I've had come in for a mediumship session has explained to me that they may feel something, they may feel a cool breeze or get goosebumps. A lot of times we feel that, or you may feel just something's there with you, someone's there with you. So we all have that ability. So I would say definitely, you know, look into that and see how you can connect with your loved one.
Absolutely.
And I've been very blessed. I mean, I have you guys with me. So, you know, I've been very blessed when I wasn't able to pull myself out. You know, that's another important message I want people to know is look for that support, because you cannot do it alone. The physical pain that I had in my body when he left, I felt like somebody ripped my heart out. I wasn't able to move that by myself.
I could feel your pain, and it was really, really awful. Like a knife in the heart, a knife in the gut, day after day.
Yes.
And nobody can make it go away for you. We just gave you healing and just sent you a lot of love to the whole family. You know, I don't know what more you can do at a time like that other than just listen to let them talk, and
Yes.
hug when they need it. Harder to do during COVID, but back then we could give her hugs. Did you want to say something, Roz?
I was just going to say that I think, we're constantly bombarded with the concept that once our loved one has crossed, they are gone forever. And so a book like this that really opens that subject, I just feel like for many people, this is going to be a life-changing opportunity to read this book. I tried to explain to people, my friends, after my brother passed and after my parents passed, how there were these amazing, little signs that happen. On top of everything else, you're receiving these little signs all the time. And I've had clients tell me amazing stories of things that occurred where they themselves could actually see their loved one. Maybe it was brief, but they clearly saw them come in. They could hear them. So I think this kind of written documentation of this experience with Terri Ann, I don't think we can stress enough that yes, she is a psychic medium. Yes, she is a multidimensional healer. But you out there are not prevented from having this experience. It's there if you can open your mind to that. And it really is about tapping into those frequencies.
Does Anthony ever talk about, from his perspective on the other side, things that he suggests for people to try that they might not already know if they really want to hear from their loved one?
Healing is number one. I mean, if you've not healed that pain, it's very important to heal that pain you're feeling, because grief is a huge deterrent for us to be able to, spirit will never come in and do anything that's detrimental to you. So, if you can't handle a visit, or it would upset you too much or throw you into like a tirade, they'll never come in and, do that to you. They don't want to hurt you. So, healing is very important. Also, being able to open your mind to those things. And it may be little signs at first that maybe you don't think are anything, but, the amount of signs that I've seen from Anthony and others, I'm always just blown away at the amount of signs that they can leave, whether it's he leaves me dimes, he leaves me hearts wherever I go, he leaves an A in the cloud he left me. So they can communicate in so many different ways. And he shared with me one of the fun things that he was learning while he's there is that how to work with that energy and how to manipulate it so that he can communicate those different ways, because there's all different ways to work energy. So it may be moving something, or maybe making a sound, or setting up a fire alarm, anything that it is.
Did he do that? Did he set off a fire alarm?
Yes, with that recent attack.
That's right. That was this week, wasn't it?
Yes, Roz and I were just talking about that, and I was having that dream and something was squeezing my heart and I couldn't breathe. And I had the pain for about 3 days later. I was trying to clear it. But that night, while I was having this dream, the fire alarms went off in our house for 5 minutes, and my husband jumped up, I jumped up, I was faint. We're looking all over, there's no fire, there's no smoke, and it's blaring. And I finally got back into bed. I got my senses and I said, "Was that you?" And he said, "Yes, I did that to protect you."
Was that also, he knew you were being attacked in your sleep, so he had to wake you up out of that deep sleep?
Exactly. So they have waves where they can come in softly, or waves where they can come in loudly.
Like a foghorn.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's funny, but that's beautiful, because he knew you were being attacked by the dark, and he swooped in. He's like, "Not on my watch." I don't know what that weird
That is probably, you want to bet that that's him.
Oh, maybe he's trying to talk to us, because it does kind of sound like a weird distorted voice.
Do you remember like Charlie Brown and the teachers always that's what
We've never had that sound on our show before, so it's like the second time today. Just before it started earlier, before we started recording, we heard that. So if it starts up again, Anthony, if that's you, make that sound again. He's like, I don't do things on cue, Ivory. We've already established that. What am I thinking?
Oh, Butters.
Anything, what else did you want to share about your book? Because there's so much in it. I love it's very readable. It's in short
Yeah.
chapters, easy to
It's really, it
zoom
was,
through it.
yeah, it was really, I was able to just have it flow from me. You know, he always wanted to write his own book.
And now he has.
And he never thought really he was capable while he was in the physical. So now he has written his own book, you know, and there's parts of him in here, that journal entry that I have. He wrote that when he was 15, I believe. So he was very vast and knowledgeable at 15. The words he used when you read it, and he wrote several. I have one that he sent to his ex-girlfriend using the word transcendent goddess. And I was like, I didn't even know the word transcendent at 15 years old, you know. So it's just full of so many, and I talk about the dreams a lot. I think it's important to people to know too about their dreams. In your dreams, spirit can visit you. It's one of the easiest ways that they can connect with you. And just the other night, we were talking, and I have dreams every month. So every monthly anniversary of his passing, he will visit me in a dream. And each dream is congruent the next step, or what I'm supposed to do, or what I'm supposed to work on healing. And it's no coincidence that the editor of this book was a dream interpreter.
That just blows my mind. I'm sure she's loving all of this.
The whole, I mean, say that like over again, like 500 times. I keep have said this all my life. I keep saying it. There really are no coincidences. Not really.
No.
Things happen like that, you just feel it, that it's meant to happen that way. So,
and they had a lot of similarities. Anthony went to school for communications and journalism. He had his degree. Jason also, you know, is an avid writer and dream interpreter, has several books out there. So he was really able to tap in and connect with Anthony in a way. And it started out like a game, he says. It was like, he would like come to a chapter that he was editing, and he'd say, well, what do you think about this, Anthony? And he'd either, you know, get something intuitively or just write it down. And if he would come to a block, he would ask Anthony, what do you think about this? And so then he would come back to me and he would confirm with me, you sure that was Anthony? And I said, and I'd confirm with Anthony, was that you that was showing Jason all that stuff? And he'd say, yes, that was me.
It's crazy.
So it is. So, you know, sometimes you think it's crazy, but it's so true. I don't believe in coincidences either. And, you know, there's too many things that when the stars align perfectly. I mean, when I think about that, I'm sitting here talking to you, laughing about my son who passed less than a year ago, I'm blown away.
Yeah, you would have never thought that.
Not at all. And because he kept telling me, and that's part of that contract work, you know, when I talk about soul contracts, the contract work, it's part of that where he would step in then and help me process this throughout the rest of my incarnation here. That's part of our contract. And soul contracts can be very detailed, and there's many beings and spirits that are involved in making it. It's not just, you know, me and him making this contract when we made it, but it was, you know, many beings and spirits were involved, and it is for the benefit of a lot of different people.
I'd like to go back just a little bit to what you were saying about Anthony letting you know that you two are twin flames, because so many people have this idea that everyone's going to meet their twin flame in every lifetime and they're going to be with them. This is a very good point here, that sometimes your twin flame comes back and they're in a relationship that it cannot be romantic. You wouldn't even think of it. You just know that you feel that incredible bond with them. And and you don't think about it in those terms. But that's one reason people don't meet their twin flame, because they think it's only going to be a romantic connection. So I think that's helpful for people too. I'm sure that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah, and Roz knows more about twin flames than I do, right, Roz?
I feel like there's a lot of information out there now that is actually confirming what people have gotten into their mind is, yes, this is a soul connection, and it is in this lifetime romantic. That's simply very inaccurate. And I also, this is something that I've spent time thinking about, but I've researched too. I think we have to be kind of open to the thought process that we repeat lifetimes with many other souls that we connect with. People talk about their soul family, their tribe, et cetera, et cetera. The connection that you have with your twin flame experiences numerous repetitions in various formats. So being, kind of like getting out of the mind box that we're put in, something like this experience that you're having, where had confirmed, and that this is a lifetime that was mother child here, but many other lifetimes together too. And the depth of that and the intensity of that is so incredible. So
I think that's why maybe it was so painful too, and hard for me to conceptualize, because it was like, I love all my children. I can't imagine any of them leaving, but the pain that I had felt, and it went so deep, it felt like a piece of me was gone. And, from what he tells me, and so as he's doing his work and clearing his stuff and healing and shifting, that I'm still here doing mine, and it's sort of intertwined. So it's like, when I rise, he rises. When he rises, I rise. So it's like that continuous wave of energy from where he is and from where I am. Somebody said it great yesterday. She is like, I was being interviewed yesterday, and she's like, I feel like you were like catapulted into another dimension. And I said, that's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of interviews. Every time we talk to you, you're like, I just did a show. I got a show tomorrow. So that's great. So the word's getting out there. And so what's the reception been? Have you been able to have people call in to any of those shows?
No, not yet. I think yesterday, the one I did yesterday, they were able to call in, but I don't think they did. But we are getting really good reviews on it, and it's getting a lot of acknowledgement. I mean, like you said, people have to understand that there really is no death. And I don't believe, any loss is so difficult. I've not lost my parents. My parents are still here, alive and well. My grandparents passed in their 90s. So, you can sort of say, oh, they had a great life, and, they did so many things and saw so many things. But at 27, nobody expects this 27-year-old normally healthy man to then pass. And so whether it's 27, 67, this is still your child. So I think the book's going to help a lot of people see that no matter how old or who it is, that you can still have that relationship with them. It's a different relationship. It's a way different relationship, but it is still a relationship.
Well, I know the three of us are all mediums. And as a medium, I sure know I have a different view of death and how we interact with spirit than the average person does. How has it changed your view as a medium to go through this experience?
I think I have a new skill set of just really tapping into understanding what someone really feels like. I've seen more people lately who have lost children than I had in my practice before. So it's interesting how that shift sort of came into my business after he passed. It was early on, I think, a woman walked in and she wanted a mediumship session, and I had just been in the office. I think he was only had passed maybe 2 months. I was not ready to do any work like that. I still find it a little overwhelming. I haven't found that happy place yet. I have 2 sessions coming up, but I haven't really found that happy place yet. So for me, I think it's just a newer understanding of, the skills needed to go in for them to communicate, and then relaying the message to the client as well, and reiterating that this is my story, and if I can do this, you can do this too.
Well, we've talked about how the traumatic experiences we go through in our life reflect back later in our clientele. Like people who've gone through sexual abuse, been in relationship with sociopaths, that kind of thing. Like they come to me, boy, I get flocks of those people because I can empathize with them. I know what they're going through. I understand what it does to people. I understand how to climb out of that. And I remember telling you early on, like I had such a strong psychic hit that your clientele was going to be overwhelmingly parents who've lost children. Like that's just a part of your path.
Yes.
They're gonna, and it's not like just because they see, oh, she lost a child, though that is something that will draw them, but it's in your energetic field now.
Yes. And how to get through that. I mean, it's one of the most difficult things. And I've had a sick child, but through her experience, I never thought that she would leave. And so now having a child who left, sort of, like I said before, it's hard to meld the human and the spiritual aspect of that. I had a really difficult, I don't think it's fully melded yet in me, but I am hoping to come to that medium ground, where it's melded together. It's one of the most difficult things you'll ever go through. I can empathize so deeply with anybody that had lost a child. People can say to you, I'm sorry for your loss. I can't even imagine what it would be like. And unless you're, empathetic or me, you can't really feel what I feel. But like you said earlier, you were able to feel that piece of my heart that was ripped out.
I didn't want to feel that.
I know.
It was not fun, but it's interesting. I don't know. I think it's good. People seem to think that if you're a medium, that you're not going to be grieving people that you lose because you know that they're going to be in spirit form and they'll probably communicate with you. But I think they're forgetting we're still human. You're still human, and the human part of you grieves the physical loss of a person. And I think it's that spiritual side of you that has to win over the human side to understand our roots, which is we're all spirit. We're all spirit forms.
And I said in the beginning, people have to understand too, I didn't want to hear from him, because if I was hearing from him, that meant that he was dead. And in the beginning, I would not accept that he was dead yet. The first couple of weeks, I was still in that very much shock phase. So I would block him out. It was like, I'm not hearing you, you're not really dead, so you can't be talking to me.
There's a word for that. It's called denial.
I was in very much denial. And I kept saying, I would be walking or doing my exercise, and I'd say, I can't believe you're dead. And he'd say, I'm not dead. So I had to.
People need, that's like the core message, isn't it?
I had to change.
I'm not dead.
I'm not dead. And he just, a dream I had the other night. I don't think I shared this. What was that dream? He came in, it was his birthday. And what did he say? And he said, oh, he was hugging me, and I could feel him hugging me. And it was like the realest thing I've experienced with him thus far. And I turned to him and I said, you're not dead, are you? And he said, I've never been dead.
I've had that experience where spirit's right there and you can feel them touching you, and wide awake. So yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's going to be so interesting to see this unfold and see where it goes. But I know he's indicated to you that You're going to be working together on projects, and I think it's going to go far beyond books. Do you get that feeling?
I do, and Roz always gives me my little nudge. She's like, I see this and I see that, and I do. I feel like we have to really reach a lot of people with this, because I think this message is necessary. Although, they're not here in the physical, they still very much want to be a part of your life. And so sharing that message with the droves, and then going through the grief process as well. I think that's a big part of it. I think a big part of it is also teaching people how to heal through this process. It's not an easy process by any means to go through, and having those dark attacks and those suicidal thoughts. I think it's important for people to know too, what they are and where they came. I'm fortunate because I have you guys, and I was able to see, I'm very in touch with myself. I was able to see that was not me talking.
Absolutely. It's important.
And I appreciate you girls so much. You really have helped me tremendously.
A loss of
When I met you.
attitude is just inconceivable to
It
most
is
people.
inconceivable. Every time I think about it, then my heart goes out to you. But I know there's members of your family, like your mom, who are struggling more because they can't hear him. They can't see him. They don't have the benefit of that yet. But I know the desire, just the sheer powerful desire to have it, will bring them to that point, like it does for clients, that if you want it and you open yourself to it, eventually you're going to have whatever your ability is. You're going to have some kind of connection. Boy, I feel angels coming in as I say that it'll just happen for them.
And it's a different relationship. You're no longer going to have, you mourn that part of you that you lost. You're no longer going to have that relationship, but you're going to have a new relationship.
And I hope I'm getting the total name of this right. If I'm not, you correct me. But Terri Ann's book is on Amazon, and it's called From Death to Life, The Incredible Story of Anthony Joseph. There it is. That's the cover of it. It's got this beautiful cover. And you can find that on Amazon by entering Terri Ann's name. You can just enter From Death to Life and put her name in, and it'll come up. And you'll enjoy that. You can also get it as a digital download. And I want to thank you for watching the Sedona Soul Sisters Show today. If you'd like more information about us and our services, visit our website, sedonasoulsisters.com. We are a metaphysical and healing center in Sedona, Arizona. We see clients from all over the world, and during COVID, we're offering even more distant sessions. So no matter where you are, you can communicate with us without ever coming to our office, and easy breezy. Look what we're doing right now.
And give us a virtual hug.
That's right. We love virtual hugs. And tune in next week. We'll have an entirely different topic, which we usually don't even decide on until a few days before the show. So it'll be announced on the show page on Facebook. And in the meantime, have a beautiful week.
Bye.